was told to write this out in therapy. They said it was good for the process. I thought maybe sharing it would help it feel less like a nightmare and more like reality. The woods in South Texas were my home, and my home sounded like the finger-picking of an acoustic guitar. As an adult, there's part of me that misses the constant smell and taste of dirt and grass. As a kid, I never noticed it. There was a lot I didn't notice. How much I didn't mind the tiny thorns as I walked barefooted over roots. As an adult, my steps through nature are much more hesitant, even in shoes. I always knew my way back home as a kid. It felt like the woods knew how to keep me safe. However, I thought that was because of the angel in them. My mother told me that everyone had an angel looking out for them. Angels would be there in our most challenging moments. She was smart enough, though, to tell a 6-year-old like me at the time that I shouldn't rely on them for everything. God gave us common sense for a reason, so we better use it when we can. Was one thing she liked to say a lot, especially when we did something stupid. I say we, but during this time I was just an only child. It wasn't until a year later I got a sister. Before I got my sister, I got a dog. Before my dad would leave for work during the summer, he got me a blonde Jack Russell Terrier to keep me company. I named him Charlie. Today I look back and like to think that Charlie was my angel. I was always happier at the end of the summer. The air was getting cooler. Rain would come and make the woods pretty with shiny mud and puddles. My birthday was at the end of August, and my dad would be back for a few weeks. A week before my birthday, Dad would be here. I remember my mother got off the phone that morning sending me out to play. Go on. Get out the house for the morning. You can come back and play your games when your daddy is here. Daddy's coming back? I asked. That's right, Sally at the Motel 6 said he stopped last night. Probably didn't want to wake us up so late. She told me, now go play with Charlie. He'll honk his horn for you like always when he gets here. I dressed myself, tied my shoes, and went off the porch with Charlie into our woods. They were never scary to me. We never had any predators since there was a fence my dad built marking our property line. I have never been in the woods at night, though. Today, I made it my mission to try and teach Charlie how to fetch. Getting him to chase the stick was easy. I just didn't know how to get him to bring it back, or even pick it up. It was when the stick I was throwing led to all of this. I wanted it to go far. I wanted to see how fast Charlie could go. I wound my whole body to launch it like I was Hercules. The stick whipped through the air and crashed against a tree where it landed and disturbed a sleeping rabbit. That little critter felt only a small fraction of my might and knew to start running. Unfortunately, it now had the interests of my loyal hound. Charlie took off after it, faster than I ever saw him move. Charlie, I yelled out before I started to keep up. He was much faster than me. He had twice as many legs. My own two could barely keep me up as I tripped over a tree root, raising my hands hoping to stop myself, but I was going so fast into another tree. Tree bark hooked in my cheeks and tore away small patches of skin. Stung a lot, but I was too out of breath to register the pain. Then I heard Charlie barking. He rarely barks. I picked myself up and started my run again, hopping off on foot and onto the other as my chest burned. I followed the barks until I reached our fence. Charlie's barks were over and beyond our territory. I had to cross into enemy lines. The fence wasn't that hard to climb. However, it was hard to climb down. I let myself drop into sticks and grass, where I said my first swear to myself. Shit. It slipped out as I looked at my hands. Charlie's barks reminded me of my mission. I rose up to my feet, cautiously looking around. In the distance, I saw a small structure. I made my way over to see Charlie standing by it, just barking. Charlie. I yelled at him before running up and hugging him. He looked at me and looked over at the shed he's been barking at, letting out little whimpers. What is it? I asked him, but I knew better than to expect him to finally reveal he was maybe a talking dog. I put him down and just said stay. For the first time, he listened. I slowly approached the door of the shed, pressing my ear against it and listening. It looked new. It was made of metal too. There was a bike lock on it. I could open the door, and I was able to do so just enough that I could even squeeze through. Before doing so, I looked back at Charlie. Let me know if you see any bad guys. I poked my head through first. The only light was what creaked through the door. It smelt odd, almost kind sour, like when Charlie peed on the couch. There wasn't much inside except for her. The light that landed on her body made her look as though her skin was made of marble. Her hair was a fiery gold that draped down her back and over her shoulders. She was blindfolded and her hands were bound to a bar attached to the shed by chains. On her back were her wings. They were black and pressed flat against her skin like a drawing. She wasn't wearing anything except for a crown made of sticks and thorns. She was very pretty though, pretty like my mom, except different parts of her face had dried blood. I couldn't tell if she was sleeping because of the blindfold, so I got closer and pressed my hand to her shoulder. A few gentle nudges and she started moving around. Her head rose but swayed off balance as she tried to keep it up. Her mouth opened, but words I didn't understand started to come out with more drops of blood. They almost sounded like words I knew, but they were just wrong. "Miss," I said softly, looking at her. She was pretty, had wings, and spoke oddly. "Are you an angel?" Her head began to sway up and down very slowly. "Do you need help?" My mom said angels help us. She also told me they don't speak to us like how we speak to each other. Her head kept swaying up and down. Her face entered the light. I didn't know angels could bleed. I looked at the chains. "I think my dad has something to cut those. I'm going to go look. I promise I'll be right back." I raced home with all sorts of questions floating through my head, mostly all about angels. Why don't they wear clothes? Do they eat? Sleep? How do they see with blindfolds? Mom always said that God gave them everything they needed, but it seemed like they needed help this time. Maybe Charlie was an angel sent by God to lead me to her. Once I got over the fence, I just had to run from it and home would be in sight soon. Even though my home was small, it was easy to spot. It was built on stilts and painted blue. I could tell I was coming from behind as I couldn't see the porch. Charlie kept up with me, but as we got up the steps he hopped on a chair and waited for me as I went inside. My mom called out my name as I went to the underside of the sink. "What are you doing, sweetie?" she said, the stench of cigarettes entering into the room before she did. "I'm looking for chain scissors," I said as if that was a real term. I could feel her confused stare before correcting me. "You mean bolt cutters? What the hell for?" She then got closer and noticed my battle wounds. "Oh Jesus, hun, your face. Get out from under there, go sit at the table." She grabbed me by the arm and lifted me up. I knew better than to fight back, but I still argued. "But Mama, there's an angel behind the fence and..." Before I could finish, she cut me off with anger. "Boy, what do you mean behind the fence? Charlie was chasing a rabbit and he went back there. That doesn't mean you do," she said. "If you weren't already scratched up and your daddy wasn't coming back, I'd whoop you. Keep quiet." She got out a first aid kit. I held her cigarette as she put the medicine and bandage on my face. Once she finished, we heard the horn. I hopped off the table and ran out the door. Charlie was barking excitedly behind me. My dad stepped out of the truck, preparing himself for my assault of a hug. I embraced myself into him, taking in the scent of smoke, diesel, and dirt. His bare claw of a hand brushed through my hair. "Hey little man, let me get a look at you." He spoke and sounded like a cowboy. He managed to pry me out of the hug to see my face. His gaze of awe quickly hardened into one of concern. However, he didn't do it for me. His eyes locked in on Mom. "What the hell did you do to my boy?" he said in a stern but polite tone. "I didn't do anything to your boy but put the bandage on him. How about you ask him?" Mom said with a bit of attitude. Dad looked back at me. "Sounds like you got a story to tell me," Dad said, taking a seat on the steps of the semi, pulling me up on his knee. "I was teaching Charlie how to lay fetch and we spooked a rabbit, and then Charlie went chasing it and I had to rescue Charlie and he went over the fence and I couldn't leave him so I rescued him and then we found the angel." Your son scraped himself going over the fence. My mom interrupted. "I heard that, Marlene. I also heard you say let him tell it." My mom was about to say something again before my dad cut her off. "Don't interrupt my boy again. Now go on. Tell me more about the angel." "She needs help, so I came back to get bolt cutters to rescue her," I said. "That's mighty brave of you. She's real, Daddy. She had wings on her back and hair like the sun." I tried to explain. His eyes widened a bit, probably because I interrupted him, but I wanted to save her. I believe you, boy. He looked at my mother, who definitely didn't believe me, or was too mad about the fence. If she's really an angel, she can wait. I'll go save her myself. Joe, Mom said, but was quickly cut off. After I spend some time with you all first. I missed you so much. He picked me up and sent me flying. The sensation of being lifted to the house was like a dream. Dad knew all the secrets to turning me into a superhero. He set me down and told me to get a movie going while he talked to Mom. She came up the porch and Dad rushed me inside, closing the door. I could still hear. I didn't like to listen when they were by themselves, nor did I like them without me. They didn't seem as happy when I wasn't in the room. Even at so young, I understood how much I kept them together. I almost forgot about the angel for most of the afternoon. We ended up watching The Last Crusades since I got a DVD set for Indiana Jones last Christmas. We finished the evening with a game of Yahtzee, my mom's favorite. Dad took me to bed and my angel night light gave me the reminder but also an idea. Dad, you should take Charlie with you. What? He said, standing in my doorway as he was about to leave. He knows where the angel is. I explained. I see. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten. Get some rest, son. We told each other good night and I love you. I had trouble sleeping. I wasn't sure if Dad really believed me until it was late. I couldn't smell my mom's cigarettes anymore. That usually meant she was asleep. I heard noise in the kitchen and the front door. Even if it was really quiet, this house was too small to hide anything. It must have been Dad going to help the angel. I heard him whistle past my window calling Charlie. I used his brief waning whistle as a lullaby. I wish I could remember the dream. I like to think it was about the angel. My dreams didn't understand that they were supposed to appear in my sleep. My alarm clock that morning was marital troubles expressed through verbal abuse. I don't remember much of what was said. Nothing came clear until I opened the door and tones got quieter. Just start making some damn pancakes, Dad said. I stepped into the little hall, past the little living room, into the little dining space. Well, have a seat there, little man. Mom is making pancakes. The room was silent. It was missing something. I looked over at the open door to a quiet screen door. Usually when I'm up, Charlie is right there with his paw on the glass looking in. Mom, where's Charlie? I asked. I couldn't see her, but as soon as I asked, I heard the metal clink of a Zippo. Ask your father, she said softly. I turned my head to him. He looked really tired. I didn't have to speak and neither did he. However, he went ahead and lied and I went ahead believing it. He's with the angel, he began. I went to go save her, and she offered to take Charlie with her back to heaven to get him some wings. It took me years to learn his lies to me were also spoken slowly and clearly, as if he was checking his own false facts. You're gonna get a flying dog soon, he said with excitement, and it made me giggle. Okay, was all that I could say with a smile. We ate breakfast and I learned what soon meant. Soon wasn't the next day, it wasn't the next month or Christmas. Soon didn't come next year or at any future birthdays. Soon came almost 20 years later for me to see Charlie and the angel again. I did go back to the shed a few days later. Maybe she didn't know where I lived. However, it was empty. No proof she was ever there. All I found from that memory was the bike lock used to keep the door closed, tossed aside by a tree. It was open and the digits were my birthday.